when I got elected, I said a number of things before I got elected, and nobody believed me. I said, if you elect me, ain't no way I'm taking a nice, cushy health care, congressional health care. I turned down my health care. I said, if you elect me, I'm not going to take a pension. I said, if you elect me, I'm going to sleep on the floor in my office, and I'm going to come home every damn weekend. Unlike Aaron Schock, I'm not going to travel the world. I said, if you elect me, I promise you, there will be no member of Congress, Republican or Democrat, who holds more open to the public town halls than me. 363 town halls later, we did it. And at the beginning of every town hall, Art, after you said the pledge to the greatest damn, pardon my language, I just get wound up. I get wound up because unlike my young friend, Mr. Havenhill, I think we're toast. I think America is history. I say that with a smile on my face, and I'm going to try to fire you up before you go home tonight, but I really do believe America's about to fall on her knees. Yeah. This is the greatest gift God has ever given this planet. It amazes me every day. I dare you, I challenge you, I implore you, find one other country in the history of this planet that was founded upon an idea. Never been done. Hasn't been done prior, hasn't been done since. America is the only country that gave birth, that came into being because of an idea. And gosh darn the Republicans, and gosh darn the Democrats, they have over the years complicated the idea. The idea is one word: freedom. One simple word. Not equality, not free housing for everybody, not free school for everybody. Freedom. One word brought people here. And I started every town hall I gave, after we said the pledge to this idea, I asked everybody in my audience, and sometimes I spoke in front of 10 people, sometimes I spoke in front of 1,000 people. It didn't matter to me. I asked everybody in my audience who's served this country, everybody in this audience who wore the uniform, everybody in this audience who served, everybody in this audience who was harmed or maimed or scarred because you had the courage to defend this idea. So I ask you all, and God love our veterans. God love our veterans. They hate to be recognized. They hate to stand out. I don't want to talk about what I did. I don't want to be recognized. I don't want you to give me a hand. Tough. Any of you who served, any of you who defended this country, any of you who wore the uniform, please do us a favor and either raise your hands or stand up and be recognized. Please, right now. God bless you and thank you. This may not come out right. A lot of what I say doesn't typically come out right. If there's a blessing in 9/11, and Ulysses, I know this is on tape, so here goes Joe Walsh again. If there is a blessing in 9/11, it's that 9/11 and evil Islam has forced this good, decent country to appreciate again the men and women again who defend us. My generation and my kids' generation are soft. My generation and my kids' generation do not know war until 9/11 hit. And that's too bad for us, because we need to be reminded on a daily and a weekly basis that men and women die for us, that men and women die to preserve that. It's important to be reminded. It's so important. Art and Ruth, thank you. I love coming down here. I'll tell you what, I get a little skip in my step. My smile gets big every time I see Chicago in my damn rearview mirror. I love it. I need it. That tall, beautiful woman back there filming me, I'm trying to convince her to maybe move down here.
We need you to move down here.
Yes.
Every single Republican in the state of Illinois, every single congressman, Kinzinger and what's his name? Schock, and Holmgren, and Roscoe, and Shimkiss, and Davis, and all of them, this past December, as far as I'm concerned, violated their oath of office. Think about where we are. That guy in the White House, that guy in the White House, that imposter in the White House, that man, Rudy Giuliani, are you listening? That man who does not love America, that man who does not understand this country. And how unbelievably ironic is it? Just think about it. We're being told something by the man upstairs. You put this guy in office now, this guy who does not like, this guy who does not understand this country, this guy who, if he wasn't a president, he'd be some commie professor in some college somewhere. This guy, and I don't mean to offend, but I came out 10 months ago and I said it, and every time I say it, my Republicans just go like this. This guy in the White House, who I believe in my bones is a Muslim. And the funny thing, the sad thing, I know for a fact. And by the way, here's how far we are at ever getting this back. This is why this Irish guy is so darn down about where America's at. Because I know for a fact that guys like Hannity and O'Reilly and Michael Medved and a lot of people in my industry right now, I know privately they believe what I just said publicly. None of them can say that publicly. Sean Hannity cannot say that publicly. Bill O'Reilly, what a fake he is. I don't want to go off on Bill O'Reilly. I can't stand the guy. Bill O'Reilly cannot say that publicly. Fox News has told these people, you cannot say Barack Obama's Muslim. That's Fox News. That's not CNN.
Yeah.
That's Fox News. So the guy in the White House, November 24th, the day is here. The date I will not forget. November 24th, Barack Obama, for the last time, took the Constitution of the United States and he tore it up. For the last time, Barack Obama, all by himself, you can't do this. All by himself, he said, 5 million illegals, I make you legal. All by himself. The guy in the White House wrote immigration law. All by himself. He can't do it. It's unconstitutional. It's illegal. How do I know that? Huh?
It's treason!
How do I know that? You're right. How do I know it's unconstitutional? How do I know it's illegal? John Boehner told me. No! John Boehner the very next day came out and said unconstitutional, illegal. Mitch McConnell, even, how old is John McCain now? 200 and how old? John McCain's 216 years old. John McCain, the day after Obama did it, John McCain said unconstitutional. I'm having fun, but I'm making a point. The day after Obama did it, every single Republican said, time out, that's unconstitutional. That's illegal. Oh, okay. Okay, so that makes sense because I agreed with that. So then along comes December 11th. And the Republicans have to vote on a bill that will fund Obama's unconstitutional, Obama's illegal act. And I thought, this is the greatest thing in the world. I know I'm slow, but Republicans told me it was unconstitutional. If it's unconstitutional, how can you give him the money for it?
What's to vote on?
Or if it's illegal,
What's to vote on?
if it's illegal, how can you vote to fund something that's illegal? I remember when I got elected. It was the most wonderful day. I got sworn into office. January, I forget the date, Helene, 2011, Joe Walsh stood up, and as a freshman member of Congress, I said, I swear to uphold and defend the Constitution. It's awesome. It was awesome to be able to say that. This is what every single Republican from Illinois swore to uphold. Nothing else matters to that. And Obama spit on it. Obama burned it. Obama tore it up. So how in God's name can the Republican Party give him the money to rob the bank? And they did it. God love Congressman Steve King. And by the way, Ruth, if there is water back there, yours truly is going to need it. I'm feeling my voice go. God love Congressman Steve King from Iowa. Congressman Steve King from Iowa in December, Ruth, watch it, the old wide receiver throws it there. Congressman Steve King from Iowa, hey, the old quarterback, look at him. Not bad for 94 years old.
Oh, that was low.
Hey, but you married a woman 50 years your junior. Look at that.
Just trying to dig out of that hole you're in.
I've been digging for 5 years. Congressman Steve King said in December, before they voted for the Cromnibus, which funded Obama's illegal act, Steve King said, this is like the easiest vote I've ever made. I don't even have a choice. I voted to defend the Constitution. He broke it. I can't fund it. It's an easy vote. It passed. The Republican Party supported it. Every Republican in Illinois, Kinzinger, Schock, Hultgren, Roscom, all of them did it.
They gotta go.
And I said that day, you just defied your basic job. John Boehner doesn't want me back there. You know why, right? Just listen to me for 5 minutes. You know what? You know what pisses me off? And my mom hates it when I say that, but there I go again, Art. My mom can't listen to the radio show. After 5 minutes, she says, there goes Joey. His language is terrible. She turns me on. You know what really just gets me? This is the greatest, most decent, most compassionate country in the history of the planet. Do you know that we give more charitable dollars to Muslim organizations around the world than Muslims do?
That's right.
My God, we are naively compassionate. for anybody. It just drives me bananas when I say, you know what? You should not be in this country illegally. I'm Roman Catholic. I'm Christian. I am a Christian, God-fearing man. I should be able to say that and not be accused of being mean-spirited. Come on now. You can't get into a, not that anybody wants to go to a Cubs game, but the Cubs are going to be good this year. You cannot go to a Cubs game without paying a ticket. You can't go see the Bears play without paying a ticket. Anybody should not be able to be in this country illegally. It's not right. It's not fair. And God love my Catholic Church, a sanctuary church. I love Pope Francis. What are you thinking? I got a house. What would Jesus do? It's the compassionate thing to do. Does that mean I should just let everybody in? What about the people in the house? After I've let 100 in, is it okay to let the 101st? Where do you stop? And by the way, I always tell my Republican brothers and sisters, because they hate to talk about this issue, because John Boehner and Karl Rove and John McCain are convinced if we're anti-amnesty, we'll never have a Republican president again. This is what they believe. Oh, man, they're so wrong. This is an opportunity. I travel the state and I talk. I'm on in Chicago. I'm on in New York. I've got listeners all over the country. Republican, Democrat, Independent, white, black, and brown. I'll tell you what, they're all pissed off about this. It's not right. It's not fair. I caught myself. Sweetie, I caught myself. Now on the radio, I would have let it fly. I work my backside off every day. I mean, I struggle. I got 2 kids. If I'm lucky, I go to the Wisconsin Dells for a weekend on the summer. That's it. I put bread on my table. I can barely keep my neck above water. I'm having a hard time paying the mortgage. And I gotta listen to and watch 2 parties tell me I'm gonna give government benefits to illegals. My money that I work my behind off for. Who's speaking up for them? Who's the voice for working class legal Americans? Republican and Democrat. And by the way, now that we're on this, who's the voice for that line? You see that line out there? There is a line of people still around the world trying to get into this country legally. And let me tell you something. It takes years to get into this country legally. And let me tell you something. It takes money to get into this country legally. And whenever I talk about this subject, I hear from people on the radio who say, Joe, it took me 7 years, it took me $12,000, doggone it, I did it. It's not fair. Now let me ask you something. John Boehner, Mitch McConnell, John McCain, you can't be the voice for that? You're afraid of that? You want the Hispanic Latino vote and you're willing to sell out working class America? Screw you. You're not going to be the voice for that? Shame on you. Amnesty. Amnesty took down the second most powerful Republican in D.C. last year, Eric Cantor. I wish I could have given him a little kick on his way out of D.C. It's a big issue. Americans care about it. And I will just say this, you uniquely in this district, what's your congressman's name? You got a congressman in this district? Not only is he supportive of amnesty, he's their biggest cheerleader. I got to believe if I traveled this district and talked to working class, legal Americans, white, black, brown, Republican, Democrat, Independent, they'd have a problem with that. With little Adam caring more about people coming into this country illegally. Here's what I believe. It's why I do this every day. It's why I scream every day. And the way I talk right now, the way I'm talking right now, the way I talk on the radio is the way I talked in Congress, which is why John Boehner doesn't want me back. Nothing's changed. They changed my district. Here's what I believe. And I told this to Boehner almost 4 years ago on the floor of the House. I said, Mr. Speaker, and by the way, personally, don't get mad at me. Personally, John Boehner's a lot of fun. He's a fun guy. He's been there 100 years too long, and I never would have voted for him for Speaker. He has no clue as to what's going on out here. I told Boehner about almost 4 years ago, I said, Mr. Speaker, there's something going on out here. Americans are really upset. And I used the R word. And when I used the R word, he turned around and walked away. I said, Mr. Speaker, I think there's a revolution going on in the country right now. He shook his head, turned around, and walked away and said, Walsh. Walsh. Whenever he got mad at me, he'd say, Walsh. I truly believe it. We had the American Revolution. God bless them. That gave us this thing. Men and women who gave up their lives to give us this thing. We had the Civil War, and we can debate a little bit about the Civil War, but we had to go through a war I call a Second American Revolution to ensure that every color had the original freedom, baby.
Yeah.
Every color. We've gone through civil unrest to make sure that women and everybody else have what we were given. And I'm telling you right now, whether you want to believe it or not, and nobody in this room, I can promise you this, I'm 24. I think I'm the youngest guy in this room. None of us will be alive to see if and when America ever recovers. But we're not doing it for us. We're not doing it for us. I don't have grandkids yet. We're not doing it for us. We're doing it for those future generations. I can tell you this, we have begun a third American Revolution. I believe it in my bones. There are people in this country who have freaking had it. They've had... No, I caught myself. I wasn't going to say anything bad, but I want to go back. So here's the problem. You think like the fight in America right now, it's Republican versus Democrat, right? It's Republican versus Democrat, right? No. Darn right. That went out the window 5 years ago. So the new sides, like imagine a football game or a baseball game or a basketball game, soccer match, I don't even like soccer. It's you believe in big government or you believe in freedom and limited government and self-reliance, or you believe in big government. Where we are now in the year 2015, we have the Democrat Party. God love them. I don't. God love them. They believe in big government. This is what they pray to. This is what they worship. And by the way, I've said this before. Maybe some of you have heard me say this. Now I need to sit because I'm about to go over. This is not a game to them. Not a game. President Johnson back in the 60s. President Lyndon Johnson back in the 60s. On an aeroplane with a couple advisors. Turned to his advisors after they got the war on poverty and all the great welfare programs of the 60s passed. President Johnson turned to his advisors and he said, those,
Yep.
And he didn't use the word blacks.
No.
It began with an N. And President Johnson said, those blacks will vote for us for the next 200 years. The Democrats know exactly what they're doing. If I can make you dependent upon, if you need government, you will vote for me every election. That's what they've done to African Americans. That's what they're doing to all of us. And that's what they're especially trying to do to Hispanics. I'm not crazy. They tell me this privately. I had a fellow congressman, I won't give you the name, he's from Illinois. I was sitting next to him in the House locker room, in the House of Representatives locker room 4 years ago. He said, Joe, you don't get it. Every single day we try to make one more person or one more group of people dependent upon government. Every day that's what we do. And I played dumb. And I said, well, why would you do that? That can't work. The country will go broke. Why would you do that? Because we'll never lose power. They will vote for us. This is war for them. So they believe in this America. You're all here tonight because you don't believe in this America. You've never believed in this America, and that's why you all rose up a few years back and formed this organization. Here's our problem, gang. Here's our problem, America. Every Democrat believes in that America, the new America. Right now, in the year 2015, I'm sorry to report to you, most Republicans we elect, most Republicans in charge of the party believe in that America too. So here's my problem. Here's what we face. I want my country back. I want a country back where I am free. I get to keep the money I make. I get to start a business and run a business, and government stays out of my hair. I can pack and carry a firearm wherever I want to go to protect my family and my business. I want to live my life and be free. Government, stay out of my hair. It's so awesome if you think about it. In 24 seconds, I just gave you America. I just gave you what we were given. Here's our problem in this year of 2015. The Democrats don't believe in that America.
Half of the Republicans don't either.
It's worse. The Republicans won't fight for it. So the Democrats don't believe in it, the Republicans won't fight for it. The Democrats don't believe in it, the Republicans are afraid. The Republicans want to get reelected. The Republicans want to be loved. The Republicans, truthfully, can we be frank? By the way, is there a Frank in the room? Raise your hand. No Frank. Most Republicans that I served with, including every Republican in Illinois, they sort of believe in big government too. They just believe as Republicans, I can run it better. I can manage it better. Because we're Republicans. We're smarter. But do you see the problem? They believe in where we've already, in where we are now. They don't want to go back. And every time I'm on the media, every time I'm on CNN or NBC, it really irritates them because I want to go back. They hate that. So when I say that we're in the beginning of a revolution, the Republican Party is splitting up. You got most Republicans who say, if we don't support amnesty, we'll never be loved by Latinos again. If we don't support these government programs and these government benefits, nobody will vote for us again. So you got most of the Republican Party doing this. I want to be like them. It works. When you give people things, they re-elect you. I want to do that. But you have some courageous Republicans who I went to Congress with, and then who went to the Senate, guys like Cruz, guys like Lee, guys like Paul. You've got a good group of guys. We don't agree with them on all the issues, but they firmly believe in, no! No! I want to go back here. I don't have my wallet. I never have money in my wallet anyways. I want to go back to an America where I make $1, I keep almost all of it. And if you let me do that, government, if you give me that freedom, government, I will be responsible for myself. I will be responsible for my family. I'll be responsible for my parents when they get older. I'll be a responsible businessman. I will make my own health care decisions. I'll take care of my neighborhood. I'll be involved in my church. Let me be free. Let me keep what's mine, and I'll be responsible. We have a minority of Republicans who serve you right now who believe in that. Every single day, it's like this. My life was a living hell for 2 years in D.C. My Republican Party every single day tried to ruin me because I talked like this every single day. We right now have 245 Republicans in the House. How many think like me? Take a guess.
55.
No, anywhere from 24 to 36. Nobody from Illinois. 24 to 36 House Republicans would have the courage to stand up before you today and utter every word I'm uttering. Now think about that. 24 to 36 out of 245 Republicans, and oh, by the way, you have all these other Democrats over here. Let's close with this and then I'll answer some questions. Because people invite me to speak a lot. And in the early days, people invited me to speak because they wanted to fire people up. Oh, I know, let's get Mikey to do it. Get Joe Walsh to come talk. He'll get everybody wound up. I stopped with the wound up speech years ago. I love this thing. I think it's lost. I think we're going to crash. I'm no dummy. I study history. I talk political science. There's the cycle of democracy, gang. You start out in bondage. You are there's a religious revival. You fight. You fight and you scratch and you claw to be free. And then you're free. And then you work your tails off to be successful and prosperous. And once you're successful and prosperous, all of a sudden, you begin to become complacent. And once you're complacent, you begin to no longer be informed. And then once you're no longer informed, you begin to be dependent again. Apathetic. And before you know it, you're back in bondage. The cycle of democracy. It's happened throughout history. No society, on average, every empire lasts about 260 years. We right now in America are somewhere between apathy and dependency. The next stage after dependency is bondage. It's the fourth quarter. Football fans, and we're down a couple touchdowns. The reason I yell, the reason I get wound up, the reason I want to go back to Washington, I don't know what I'm going to do. The reason I get fired up every day is because I know we're lost. And I know we're going to crash. And when that moment happens, I just want there to be enough Americans who still remember what we were given. Right. That's all. I have no doubt we're going to crash. I have no doubt the great American experiment is done. You can't reverse it. We are a people now that is fat, lazy, and stupid. That should be my campaign slogan. How would I do? We are a people that has grown fat, lazy, and stupid. Don't blame McCain. Don't blame Boehner. This is hard. Don't blame Nancy Pelosi. She's about that tall. Don't blame Obama. We've done this. We've grown uninformed. We've grown disengaged. Thomas Jefferson said it. much more articulately than I'm about to say it. Jefferson said, hey gang, it takes two to tango. You want to keep this darn thing we call a republic? Well, your representatives, they got to represent you. But let me tell you something, America. You represented, you better stay informed. You better stay educated. You better stay engaged. And if you don't, gone. It can't work. And you cannot tell me a country that can tell you who's on Dancing with the Stars and they don't know who the heck George Washington is. You cannot tell me we have not crossed that line. So our job, our calling right now, I believe, is to tell the Republican Party, and I should be careful because I may run as a Republican again real soon. Our job is to tell the Republican Party respectfully, I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done with you. I hope you change. I hope you listen to me, but I want that thing back, and you're not fighting for it. So I'm done with you. If I have to go to a third party, I'm doing it. If I have to go out in the wilderness and just educate my kids and my grandkids for the next 20 years, I'm done with it. If you won't fight for what we were given, I'm done with you. I'm going somewhere else. And thousands of us have to do that. Hundreds of thousands of us have to do that. And eventually a few million of us have to do that. And if we do that, only if we do that, the Republican Party will change or they won't.
If they don't, they won't survive.
And if they don't, along comes a third party. Because I do know this. You're not going to lay down. Again, I travel the state and I travel the country. There are so many Americans like us who just will not take this. I know that. It's time to think of yourselves, young or older, white, black, or brown, no matter how good you look, it's time to think of yourselves as a revolutionary. Do you know our founding fathers? I love this. This is so awesome. This just gets me jazzed! Oh my word! Our founding fathers rebelled and revolted and started a country against a government less intrusive than the government we deal with now. Can you imagine what Jefferson or Madison would say if you told them that 50 damn cents on every dollar I make is taken from me? Jefferson would say, grab your musket. Grab your musket. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. But look at how far we've fallen. We've got people in Washington right now, Republicans in Washington right now, putting together a budget that will slow down the growth of government spending. Paul Ryan needs to get a job in the private sector. He's never worked in the private sector. Paul Ryan, when I was there, proposed a budget that balanced in the year 2036. Why even do it? You're going to balance 20 years out? Why even do it? 80% of what the federal government does, they do not have the constitutional authority to do. 80 freaking percent. That's okay though. What's on TV this weekend? Where am I going to go this weekend? Who do the Bears play? Boom! And away we fall. And that's where we are. This room should be packed with 17,000 people.
Right.
But Art, it's not your fault. You're a handsome guy. It's not packed with 17,000 people because I say what most politicians believe, they won't say it. The country's still asleep. Fat, lazy, stupid. I spend my time pounding the Republican Party because they're the only hope. I believe we're close to a third party. It doesn't scare me. I could care less. I don't think it would take as long as you think for that third party to be something pretty big. It's happened before. I talk to a lot of African American groups. I talk to a lot of Hispanic groups. And I talk this way. I talk about freedom. You want to be a slave to big government? You want to be a slave to big government? We get in their faces. You talk this way. They get it. We just don't talk that way to them. The Democrats want to give them 3 years of unemployment insurance, and along comes a Republican to give them 2 years. The Democrats say contraceptives for life. How awesome would that be? Look at her. You're thinking, oh my God. The Democrats say contraceptives for life. What do the Republicans say? No, just for the next 2 years. Who's saying no? That's not government's job. Who's saying no? You want contraceptives? Go out and buy them. Get off your butt and go out and buy your own birth control. Oh, I can't say that. Women won't vote for me. There goes Joe Walsh again. He'll never get elected. Women won't vote for me. Go buy your own birth control. I literally, when I ran for re-election in 2012, my campaign slogan was going to be, and my campaign team did not let me do it. It was going to be, vote for Joe Walsh, I'm not going to give you a damn thing. I swear to God. I was overruled by my wife and my entire campaign team. I'll close with this, and then let's open it up to questions. I may run again real soon.
Down here, though, before you make that decision, please.
All I know is again, it's wherever God wants me to be. I'm either going to be on the radio, I'm going to run again, I'm going to do whatever. We're at the beginning of a revolution. And I can tell you this, no government can tell me I can't carry a firearm wherever I want to go.
All right.
Rahm Emanuel's only this tall. I don't care what Rahm Emanuel tells me in Chicago. I don't care what the old Governor Pat Quinn used to tell me last year. No government can tell me I can't protect my family. You can't do it. And no government has a right to take 50% of what I make. That's right. We are at a point in this country where there literally will be an uprising in the streets. There will be civil disobedience. There will be violence. It's not that far off. There will be people going to jail. You know who's going to be going to jail? You know who's going to be practicing civil disobedience? It's you and me. It's the makers, it's the business owners, it's the taxpayers, it's all of us who've said, time out government, you can't take another dime from me. Time out, this last regulation is going to put me out of business. I will not abide by it, EPA or OSHA, whatever you are. And it's going to be the Catholic priest that says, no, government, you can't force me to subsidize a product that goes against my faith. You know what I love? And then I'm really going to close, Christine, I promise you. Because you're looking at me like he said he was going to close 10 minutes ago. Right now, in this country, in this supposedly free country, we have about 100 lawsuits around the country. Businessmen and women being forced by their government to do things against their religious will. A baker in Colorado, bake a cake or go to jail. A florist in Washington, arrange those flowers or pay a fine and go to jail. Huh? You can't do that here. And then you have the guy in the White House who came out last week and said, you know what? might not be a bad thing to have mandatory voting. Yeah, I could go along with that. Let's force people to vote. Now that's bad enough, but you know what? When Obama said that, forcing people to vote, a lot of the media said that's a good idea. And a lot of Americans said that's a good idea. Increase turnout, force people to vote. In a gosh darn free country, force people to vote.
They're going to force us to do everything else, might as well.
Might as well. So, God bless you. Art's right. This may be an awkward thing to say. Helene, I'm going to say it. I sprung from your loins. I really did. The Tea Party elected me. And in 2010, you sent about 20 guys to Washington like me. And we spent all of our time fighting the Republican Party. What does that tell us?
Yeah.
The Republican Party has to change. I know at the party hierarchy level, Reince Priebus and all the way down, they don't get it. I know most of them in D.C. don't get it. I know most of the Republican township heads in Illinois don't get it. But I know this, at the committeeman level, at the voter level, people feel like I do. We just got to get those people up off their butts and getting them engaged. Or you're going to keep sending people like Schock and Kinzinger and these guys to Congress, and there's no difference between them and Democrats. Let me stop there and let's open this up to any questions.